Most IT teams are losing hundreds of hours per week because end users don't know where to go to submit a request. It's Slack messages, emails, random forms, or verbal, hey, can you help me with this? It's messy, it's inconsistent, and it burns your team out. I'm gonna walk you through the exact intake process that we build for our clients that works whether you have 5 agents or 500. I'll show you exactly what needs to be fixed, how we build it, and how one change cut resolution time by 40% without hiring or adding any new tools. If you don't know who I am, my name is Josh, CEO of Grid.io, and we help teams fix broken processes and build scalable systems inside of Jira that actually work. So first up, your intake portal. You need one single, clear, and frictionless portal for end users to submit requests. The biggest mistake that I see is teams putting HR stuff, legal stuff, finance approvals all in the same place. You want to keep those separate. This is only for IT, and the more focused it is, the easier it is to maintain, and the easier it is for people to use it. When users hit the portal, they need to know instantly what to do. You want to use clear and human language. Don't use terms like break fix or incident. Instead, use broken laptop. Don't say service request, say request access to software. The goal is to make it crystal clear for end users so that when they need something, they know exactly where to go and what to do. Use language that anyone can understand, especially non-technical users. Next up, you want to keep it simple. Maximum of 6 categories and a maximum of 6 request types per category. That's it. The less they have to think, the more likely they'll use it. Now let's talk about forms. You as the agent want to collect as much information as possible without overwhelming the end users. And the way you do that is with conditional logic. You only show fields based on what they pick, and if they select request software, you only show fields based on what they pick. If they select request software, then show extra fields like which app, who needs it, does it cost money, etc. Keep everything else hidden unless it's needed. This way your agents get all the information up front and you cut out 90% of the back and forth. Lastly, bring the portal to them. If your company lives in Slack or Teams, make it easy for tickets to be submitted from where your teams work. Put it in the company homepage, the intranet, link it in email signatures, make it easy and make it visible. And I have IT directors and CEOs come to me and tell me all the time that there's no way that their users in their team will adopt a portal. They've tried it multiple times in the past and it flat out failed. But here's what I see over and over again. Those same exact teams, when the fundamentals are set up in the right way, the way that I just walked through it, you end up getting full portal adoption within 3 to 6 months. Most of the time, the problem isn't the users, it's the process. It's clunky, it's confusing, doesn't make sense to the average person, and so they skip it. They go back to what's easy, whether that's Slack or email, whatever gets them answers faster. The goal of this new system is to make it so easy and so intuitive that it takes less effort than their old way. Not just easier, but better. Tickets get resolved faster, approvals move quicker, and they actually get updates. And if you already have those fundamentals in place, here's exactly how I'd roll out and switch from email to portal within the next 3 to 6 months. Step 1 is to launch the portal and start linking it to every single ticket reply and conversation. That way your users start to understand that there is a portal, it exists, and they can start exploring it for themselves, and you could start pushing them to use the portal very slowly. Step 2 is to mandate the portal for requests that require approvals. And you could blame this on senior leadership and say that, hey, we have to have some kind of tracking and approval processes for these service requests. And now pretty much everyone at some point has used the portal in the past, knows that it exists, and hopefully has had a better experience using it. And the last step is to set up an auto reply for all inbound emails. It could say something like, hey, we've moved to this new system. Please submit your requests here with a link. If you do this right, user adoption will not be a problem. And now that you have requests coming in, you need a way to actually manage them. Start with SLAs and keep it very, very simple. You only need 2: time to first response and time to resolution. That's it. Don't overcomplicate this. I've seen teams with countless SLAs for no reason when you really only need those 2. Set your targets based on priority. High priority, fast turnaround. If it's low priority, give the team some breathing room, but still track it. Once you have that dialed in, bake the SLAs right into your queues. Then you want to sort your queues by the SLAs. Whatever ticket has the least time amount left on the clock, make sure it's at the top of the queue. That way, the most urgent stuff is always floating to the top, and your agents don't need to guess what they need to do next. It's right there in front of them. And quick tip, make sure you pause your SLAs anytime that you're waiting on customer. That way your metrics don't get destroyed because someone went radio silent for 3 days. At this point, you could start including some lightweight automations. For example, if something sits for too long, send a quick ping to the agent who's assigned to the ticket, or escalate it to a team lead. You could also auto comment to nudge the user, or even push a Slack notification if needed. Now, the last step is to segment your queues. Split it up by request type, team, or whatever makes sense for your organization. Don't just dump everything into one giant pile. Give each team a clean view, that way they know exactly where they need to go to grab their next ticket. Now the last part of this is automation. You don't need to set all this up right away, but if you got the basics working and want to take things further, here's what I usually recommend. First, auto-assigning tickets based on request type or keywords. Instead of someone manually grabbing tickets and assigning it to themselves, you could set up these software access tickets to immediately go to the correct team or person, or you could round robin by workload for your entire team. Secondly is automatically tagging VIPs. If executives or key people submit requests, you can flag those and bump the priority. It's just a simple rule, but helps things move quickly while giving your VIPs the best treatment. Third is to schedule recurring requests. Not a must-have, but if your team does have things like quarterly licensing audits, equipment refreshes, or onboarding access reviews, you can automate those things so that they show up right when they're needed. No one forgets, and no one has to go create a new ticket every single time. All right, now we get to assets. You don't necessarily need them on day one, but if you want more context when requests come in, it's definitely worth adding. Start by loading your IT gear like laptops, monitors, phones, all into your assets environment. Link each of those assets to the user that it belongs to, and then you want to pull that info straight into the ticket using automation. So if someone submits a ticket for "my laptop isn't working," your agent is immediately going to see what device they have, when they got it, what software's on it, who their manager is. You could even build approval logic on top of that. For example, if someone requests a new piece of hardware and it's under $500, you can immediately auto approve it. But if it's more, you can immediately route it to the manager. This is all optional, but helps you scale. And one more thing I'd like to mention is smart article suggestions. If someone types in VPN in the request form, show them the VPN documentation from Confluence before they even submit. It's not mandatory, but it can help reduce your ticket count by 15 to 20% just by deflecting the simple stuff early. Real quick, if you're watching this and thinking our process is an absolute mess and we don't have the time to untangle it, we offer a free consultation where we'll review how your team handles requests today, spot what's slowing you down, and map out a cleaner, scalable system that actually works. No pressure, just real insight into what's broken and how to fix it fast. Hit the link below to book your free consultation. All right, so now let's actually walk through what this looks like in a real world scenario. So I prefer to build this out in Jira, and here's an example of an IT service desk that I've built out for a team not too long ago. So at the very top, we have this announcement banner and a few different portal groups right down below. So I have general IT requests, which is sort of our catch-all, which is a good idea to have, generally speaking. When you set up your requests and request groups correctly, typically your catch-all will only be used when the other categorizations just don't fit. And then again, instead of using terminologies like break fix and service request, we're using things that are very simple and understandable. For example, I'm using laptop and equipment, logins and accounts. When I click on one of these, I have very simple requests or incidents that are shown. Report a broken asset, request a new laptop, request a new mobile device, request new peripherals, so on and so forth. And when I go to submit a new request, I'll show you a really quick bit on the conditional logic that I was talking about earlier. So instead of showing this request of 30 or 40 fields, I'm going to be asking just the essential questions and adding more conditional fields after the first couple are selected. So the first question I have is, what are you having an issue with? If I say something about my device, I'm going to be asked, what kind of a device is it? Laptop, tablet, desktop, whatever else. And then I get a quick comment saying, hey, have you tried turning it on and off again? And this is a really great way to bridge the gap between something that is a very common fix or solution for a problem that you have. And then you obviously have other conditional fields like asset tag and summarizing the issue that you're experiencing. Now, if I select system or access, I get an entirely different set of questions that previously was not visible. So the first question that I get is, did you forget your password? Since that may be the most common request that gets submitted. Yes, no, but it's not working, or no, I can't log in. That's not the issue. So when one of these are selected, again, a little bit more context information shows up, and I could also ask which particular software the individual is having a problem with. And there's checkboxes for email, Workday, Slack, so on and so forth. And then there's a question down below that reads, are you able to do other work while we fix this? And this is something that you could actually do on the back end by phrasing the questions in a very specific way. You're not asking for a priority level, but you are asking for enough context to be able to run automations based on the request type and the context that was filled out in these fields to assign a priority, which is then linked to a very specific SLA based on that priority. If you want to learn more about how to set up that priority matrix, check out the guide on our website at grid.io. And now jumping into our backend, here is what my queue setup looks like. So I have a couple of very basic queues for all open tickets, all my tickets, recently closed, open incidents, problems, changes. So those are grouped by work type. And then if I jump into a queue, you can see that I have all of my columns set up, with the columns on the very right being SLAs, and we have it sorted by SLA. And when I jump into this incident, I can see all the context and information, as well as the SLAs on the top right. In this case, it's very overdue, but this is just a demo account and none of these have been touched in quite a while. And on the right side, I have the assets that I've linked earlier. These can be things like objects for laptops, for equipment, for users, or things like the application impact, which makes a lot of sense for incidents. So using automation or even just manually, I could go through this list and name exactly which application is impacted. And if this is something down that relates to a business process or a business service, I could immediately alert the correct teams and notify the correct stakeholders to tell them that something is broken or down in that moment. And here's a quick snippet of what those assets look like in Jira. You could have things like your customer support information, your IT employee assets, your laptops, your people, and everything else associated with these. Here's a very basic and simple example of employee assets. So I could pull up the different laptops that we have in the system. I could pull up the individual users that it's tied to, when the purchase date was, the PO number, the manufacturer, and everything else which has relationships to other assets and the tickets that are in the queues. If you want a system that actually works, one where your users submit the right requests, your team doesn't waste any time, and nothing slips through the cracks, that's exactly what we build. Portals that get adopted, processes that scale, assets that give your team full context without the back and forth. If your Jira setup isn't doing that right now, book a free consultation below. We'll audit what you've got, show you where it's breaking, and how to fix it fast.